Hey, what is up guys? So today I want to share something with you that is an old school card in action using some of the newer cards that came out in the game, specifically like Grand Horde of Heaven. This is a really old card, appropriate, but I want to showcase off some older stuff for you guys over here, so appropriate. It's a continuous trap card that says activate only when your opponent draws a card or cards, except during their draw phase, draw 2 cards. Pretty simple effect. But this card does miss the timing on a ton of things. I mean, this guy has a boss monster that's pretty much going to be immune to most of things. But with this deck, you don't care what your opponent's got. You just want your opponent to draw cards so you can draw double the amount, essentially. And you guys will see this is like an FTK, OTK oriented deck. It's a little bit of an obscure thing, and I think it's kind of interesting. The whole mechanic is to force your opponent to draw, therefore you get to draw. And that's basically what the deck does. The win condition in the deck, though, is Exodia, so that's the whole goal of the deck. So I want to showcase off some replays, and then we'll jump into a deck profile because I like unique things. And here in 2016, I like the variety. You know, I don't really like covering the ABC at 1, 2, 3 over and over. I like showcasing off interesting things. I mean, this guy, he's probably like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. And I like those kind of decks when they can make your opponent get really upset, especially when it's not meta. When it's not meta, it's really good. So he just Exodia'd him. And I got another replay real quick, and then we'll jump into the deck profile. So really cool stuff indeed over here. Just showcasing off some older cards in action, because sometimes, you know, some of the cards are kind of expensive. Maybe you go troll, play some budget decks, or heck, I know some people when they go to these big Yu-Gi-Oh events, they play for decks, which is a pretty bad idea. But you know what? If you're playing a deck that doesn't really cost that much, and your opponent is playing something, you know, a little bit more pricey, I guess, hey, you get to profit off of it. If you win, if you lose, it's not that big of a deal because most of these cards are pretty cheap. But nonetheless, there's a ton of cards that allow you to draw, so this can kind of counter in a sense. Now, I'm not saying go ahead, guys, start main decking appropriates and everything. It's just this is a cheesy little build that you guys can mess around with and have a little bit of fun if you're kind of tired of the meta and if you really want to make your opponent upset, because I know, you know, sometimes players like to do that. They really just like pissing off the other player, because that's what you can do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Some decks don't even have a win condition. I remember for like a while, Final Countdown got really annoying. Like, I hated playing against that deck. Every time it was turn 1, Gold Star, Final Countdown, I knew when I was going to go for game, it was always Battle Fader, Battle Fader. It's something that players had to run into, but this is another one of those decks where if you like trolling your opponent, this is a deck for you. And, you know, I will cover everything on my channel, whether it's meta or just kind of trollsy-ish kind of a decks. So it's definitely a deck for trolls. Like, if you want to troll, play this deck, your opponent will have a bad time. But you guys can see over here, he's flipping everything face down. I'm going to go ahead and give his opponent cards. And again, it's a unique mechanic where, like, you give your opponent cards, therefore you get to draw. Now, I remember back in the Dueling Network days, people were like, you can't activate this because this card does miss the timing on a ton of stuff. But nonetheless, if you're taking the deck profile, don't worry, most of the stuff will work. But nonetheless, I know some of you guys want the deck profile because that's the point of this video. I'm going to give it to you guys. So anyways, let's go in and jump right into it. So first off, your win condition, all 5 pieces of Exodia. Double Chainsaw Insect, so when it's attacked or is attacked, you're going to draw a card. Well, your opponent draws a card, you get to draw 2 if you have a card appropriate. Next up, we have Silent Wabi. You're going to heal your opponent for 2,000, but don't worry because your win condition is Exodia. And then your opponent draws a card. This is not the best card in my personal opinion, simply because they can exceed with it and they can make things that can cause problems. But next up, we got Triple Destiny Defender. So during each of your opponent's standby phases, if this card is face up in defense position, then draw a card, therefore you draw 2. One Dead Pepperoni, keep yourself alive and draw some cards. This Cup of Ace. Heads or tails, you get to draw 2 cards. Although, if it's the wrong one, your opponent will also draw 2, but don't worry about that. Next up, we have 3 copies of Dark World Dealings, 3 copies of Magical Mallet, because you don't exactly want too many Exodia pieces early on. You want to kind of draw into them later when you're going for combos. Then 3 Book of Eclipses, give your opponent lots to draw, and then draw a bunch of cards yourself. And also negating effects is pretty good. And then we have 3 Gift of Greed, so your opponent just draws 2. Very generous card over there. Then we have 3 copies of DNA Checkup, so you select 1 face-down monster you control, your opponent declares 2 attributes, reveal the selected monster. If it's not an attribute, if its attribute is not one of the declared attributes, your opponent draws 2 cards. If not, then you draw 2. So either way, again, appropriate, you get to draw cards. Grand Horde of Heaven, you basically get to stop your opponent. This card is almost like a Battle Fader in a sense, because during your opponent's main phase, you activate it, and then your opponent draws a card, and then you end the main phase over there. So that's pretty good. Basically stops your opponent from really doing anything else that turn if you're negating what they're doing, unless they, of course, have other monsters on board. They draw a card, but you get to draw 2 and then Dark Bride. Pretty self-explanatory, but pretty unique old school stuff, man. Thanks for sending in the replay, because I wouldn't have thought to talk about Appropriate in 2016, but have some fun with it, guys. Let me know, guys, if you like seeing more of these kind of interesting old school decks mixed in with some of the newer cards. Like these 2 cards are new, and they do definitely support this old school card Appropriate, because there's a lot of old decks. I remember Bistro Butcher. There's so many like old decks that like we just kind of forgot about, and 2016 showcasing off new things is kind of what I like to do on this channel. But let me know, guys, if you like it or if you don't like it. Would love to hear you guys' feedback on that. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys get a like button, a titty slap, and be on the lookout for people trolling you with that Appropriate Exodia. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I'm signing out.